because what are they doing? James and John, sons of Zebedee, sons of lightning, come up to Jesus and said, I love this. You know, how is this for sneaky snake? You know, oh, please, Jesus, do for us whatever it is that we want. And Jesus isn't going to fall for it. And so he says, well, what do you want? And they said, well, when you come into your glory, can you almost see Jesus wanting to kick them in the rear end or something? He was like, oh my gosh, you guys, how many times? When we come into your glory, Jesus, we want little thrones. And that's the word. It says seat, right? But that's not the word in Greek. It's little thrones. We want the little thrones at your right hand and at your left hand. We have this really weird idea, don't we? We have this weird idea, and it's a habit. It's a habit that is incredibly hard to break. We have this idea that we see the world around us, and we think to ourselves, all we need to do is take over. All we need to do is take over from those icky, nasty people who are making all of these bad laws and who are so insensitive and unthinking. We just need to take over from them, and we'll take over their house, their governmental house, and we will fumigate that thing to drive out all of the bad juju that's in it. We will go into that house, that governmental house, with Clorox bleach, and we will clean up all of the evil that's in that place. And then, once we've cleaned everything out and fumigated it, then we will come in, because we're oh so good. We will come in and we will take the seats that were taken, that were sat in by the other people. We'll just overthrow those nasty people. We will have a revolution. Popular word right now. But it is interesting to note that when you have a revolution where you simply replace one power block with another power block, even if the other power block seems to have all of these noble intentions, you're just replacing power by power. And Jesus is coming at it and saying, you know, I would love to have Bev be our emperor. Right? Because, I mean, could you ever imagine a more kindly, wonderful emperor than Bev? But Gary, what would it be like? No, that's dangerous. But you see, the problem is that it doesn't matter. What doesn't St. Augustine, not usually my favorite character, but St. Augustine had a wonderful, he does have some good stuff. St. Augustine was the one who said, first, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The problem is, and I think Jesus was really aware of this, that we may come into it with all of the right intentions, noble thoughts, but just that whole feeling of power and just the habit of power means that pretty soon we're just as bad as the people that we replaced. You know, the Calvinists didn't come in wanting to be nasty in 1540. Okay, they were wanting to be able to impose God's rule upon the world. And what could be better than imposing God's rule upon the world? Sounds great, doesn't it? Anybody here want to sign up? But the problem was, there's that power again. And pretty soon they were saying to themselves, yes, but if you don't follow God's rule the way that we are interpreting it. So, and I told the story a couple of weeks ago about Massachusetts, a sea captain who had been gone. Of course, Massachusetts was kind of this big hotbed of the Calvinist incursion into the United States. That's where the Pilgrims came in, and they were not just, Pilgrims were Puritans that got kicked out of Europe because they couldn't stand them anymore. But because they were so pure. But this poor sea captain that comes home after a year and a half at sea, And his wife greets him on the front door, at the front porch of their house, and kisses him. And the sea captain is thrown into jail for 2 months for lewd and unseemly behavior in public. Because it's the Puritan Calvinist idea. There's something that gets kind of giddy about it. And Luther himself, interestingly enough, Luther was really wise on this point. He said that whenever the church, or whenever Christians try to take over the government, he said it's the devil's playground. Now, you see, Luther was also really clear where he said that doesn't mean this incredible separation of church and state, which he didn't know at that time. But what he said is each individual person's faith should be informing how they act, but don't start to impose. There's the word. When you start to impose, the word that's used, the word tyrant in Greek. In Latin, it's imperius. We think of imperius as being like imperial, right? Or emperor. But imperius is a literal Greek and Latin word that means to shove your way in. Now, think about how we are imperious. And we are imperial. How we are tyrants. How we shove our way in. We shove our way in as a country. Our way is the best way. And if you just do it the way we do it in the United States. And so all of these people in Hawaii that we were imposing our values on, all of these people in Hawaii suddenly had to start wearing wool clothing. Ugh. Because that's what's seemly and right to do. Imposing our will, looking and shoving our way, and we do it as a country, we do it as people. And Jesus is really saying, it's very fascinating to me that Mark is being very crafty here, because right before this whole section about how the disciples and how the followers of Jesus should be acting, Jesus heals a blind person. Then Jesus is trying to teach the disciples how to be disciples, and then he heals another blind person. Mark is doing that in a real crafty kind of way, because what he's trying to do is saying, listen, it's not just the blind people that I'm trying to heal. It's not just the blind people that I'm trying to give sight to. You have to start looking at yourself and realizing that there are ways that no matter what, that you are pushing your way in. You are shoving your way in. How many people drive to Moscow on a regular basis? There's a place in Moscow for you to practice. It's right in front of us. It's called the Idaho Inn. It's where 2 lanes of traffic. Oh, you know the place. 2 lanes of traffic go to 1. Now, there are a lot of people within that system that are imperious. You know, they either shove their way in, they go all the way to the end, and then, or they refuse to let anybody who's on the right-hand side merge in. I was heading over, I was in the right-hand lane. I was trying to practice. You know, can we, I'm sitting there in my truck thinking, I'm bigger! Right? That's imperious. I'm going to shove my way in. But I was just thinking, if we could just, and there was this incredible God moment where all of a sudden it was like angels in Moscow, and we all just did it. The people on the left made space. You see, it's the opposite of shoving your way in. They made space. And the people on the right, like a courtly dance, just kind of moved into those spaces that were given. Jesus is trying to tell us, you've got to really re-look at this whole thing. What you need to start doing is, first of all, not just thinking about you. Not just thinking about how you are going to get your way, or how you are going to make things better for you, or how you are going to be the one who is reaping the reward. Whether you're the one that's going to be sitting at the right hand or the left. But instead he's saying, open your eyes. You really have to open your eyes. And start to see that servant does not necessarily just mean, oh, what can I do for you? But instead, it's looking outside of yourself and trying to look at the whole of the situation and saying, how can we all together make this work? What a world we would have if it wasn't all just bombast and trying to get our way and trying to force ourselves for our own benefit onto everybody else. The news would be really boring. Probably. They'd have to get rid of cable news. But isn't it deep down something that we would all yearn for? Wouldn't you love to have Stephanie Rule or any of the people on whatever your favorite station is, for you to turn on cable news and for them to say, we have nothing to report today because everyone worked together and they were nice to each other. You see, we may get tired of listening to Jesus 3 Sundays in a row talking to us about how to get along. 3 Sundays in a row ain't nothing, folks. 2,000 years later, we still have to be reminded. Because there are